is up? My name is Olivia Horn, and I have a question for you all today. Do you know the greatest mafia movie ever made? Some might say it is The Godfather. Others might say Once Upon a Time in America. These are all wrong. Everyone knows that the greatest mafia movie ever made was Goncharov. But what is Goncharov, I hear you asking? Goncharov is a 1973 film directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Robert De Niro as the title character, Harvey Keitel, Al Pacino, and Sybil Shepherd. Whatever. The film features themes of cultural dissonance, repression, betrayal. There's a motif of clocks, the inability to turn back time. For decades, the film was thought lost to history. And then someone found a copy of it, and they posted it online. And then Tumblr got their hands on it. And now, 50 years and hundreds of pieces of fan art, analysis, and fan fiction later, here we are. But where are we? Where are we? Well, what Tumblr did with Goncharov is an example of fandom at work. Chances are you yourself have participated in fandom at some point, be it a movie series you like, or a book you talked about with a friend, or going to a popular movie. Fandom is a shared experience. I have been active in fandom spaces since I was a preteen, and I'm still active in them today. I have gone down rabbit holes that none of you want to experience. And thankfully, you won't have to, because I'm here to say everything today. So today, I will be telling you what fandom is, the history of fandom, and how fandom is used for creative activity with people of all walks of life. So, what is fandom? Cambridge Dictionary defines fandom as the state of being a fan of someone or something. Technically this is true, but it's a good basis, but I don't like it too much. Fandom is when people come together and appreciate a shared, usually a consumable piece of media together. Fandom can form around anything from a movie series to a Shakespeare play. Some fandoms have names. The Taylor Swift fandom, for example. Taylor Swift fans are called Swifties. Star Trek fans are called Trekkies. My Little Pony fans are, well, okay. Historically, there's been some contention on whether a My Little Pony fan is called a brony or a Pegasister, but I think we all know the proper term for a fan of My Little Pony. Queer. Anyway, fandom history, people. Now that you know what fandom is, where did it come from? So fandom as we know it today originates with Star Trek in the 60s and 70s. Jacqueline Guerrier's 2018 thesis paper, Where No Fandom Has Gone Before, exploring the development of fandom through Star Trek fanzines, discusses the difference between fanzines and fan magazines. So fan magazines were professionally licensed and professionally published. They were made for fans, but not by fans, and there was profit in them. Fanzines, on the other hand, were made by fans for fans with no profit in there. Copyright issues, you don't want to pull an Anne Rice. Anyway, so, yeah. There are, what I would argue, 3. Some people would say I mean 6. Those people are being pedantic and annoying. There are 3 main fandoms that make up our modern fan culture today. Star Trek, I literally just told you how big it was and how it started everything. Harry Potter, you know what Harry Potter is. You've seen Harry Potter. It was so unbelievably massive, and it pulled so many people into fandom spaces that otherwise would not have been there. And this is where some people would argue I mean 6. Super Wholock. Super Wholock is a combination fandom, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. In her video essay, The Unlikely Birth and Death of Super Wholock, Tia Nicolau, this one, she explains what Super Wholock is. Super Wholock is a crossover fandom. It's important to note it's a crossover fandom, not a shared fan base, a crossover universe fandom of supernatural, Doctor Who, and Sherlock. And the reason this is so important is because it was quite literally the first and last of its kind. Super Wholock was done exactly once, and it has never been done yet again. And it was so incredibly massive. So now we know what fandom is, where it came from. But what's it used for? Well, fandom, specifically online fandom spaces, although fandom is not relegated just to online spaces, is generally accompanied by the creation of fan works like fan art, fan-created art about the characters and setting of a work, or fan fiction, written work about the characters and setting of a work, or cosplay, costumes specifically made to imitate the characters of a work. Memes. So we have fan fiction, fan art, and cosplay. Memes are also very big in fandom spaces because it's a really easy way to take your favorite characters and make them much easier for the modern person to understand. So there is 3 main fan fiction sites. These are in terms of popularity, Archive of Our Own, fanfiction.net, and Wattpad. Besides these fandom sites, besides those fanfiction sites, fandom also takes place on Tumblr, blogging platform, YouTube, and in person at conventions. So Tumblr is a really easy place to find and share information and meet like-minded people online. A lot of YouTube creators will make videos explaining their favorite fandoms or analyzing them or making cosplay, and then they build a fandom based off of that. And conventions are a really easy place for online friends to meet up in person and make a real-life space for these online communities. So an example of fandom creativity, Lexi Liu's article, Inside K-pop Fandom, Creativity, Power, and Digital Culture, she writes, quote, "Around the world, K-pop fans are not just consumers, they are creators. They edit performance videos, fan cams, design posters, organize mass voting events, and run streaming campaigns like digital PR teams. From Seoul to worldwide, fan communities work with impressive coordination, often achieving what entire marketing departments struggle to do." End quote. So, now you know what fandom is. No, whatever. Now you know what fandom is. It's a place for fans to come together and create, for them to discuss and find community. You know where fandom came from. You know its roots in Star Trek and the fandoms that came after it. And you know that it's used for creativity and collaboration. Now you might remember that I started all of this off by talking about Goncharov. The question there is, why did I start this off by talking about Goncharov? I could have started this with anything. I could have started it with the Star Trek, or I could have started it with 50 Shades of Grey, or the sordid tragic tale of Dashcon. But I did not. I chose Goncharov. And do you know the greatest thing about Goncharov? It's not real. Tumblr made it up. The real origin of Goncharov is this post, where someone bought a knockoff shoe online advertising this fake movie and asked the question, where did this come from? What the fuck? And Tumblr did as Tumblr does and responded, this idiot hasn't seen Goncharov. And this, I would say, is the greatest example of fandom at work maybe ever, because it was not only collective collaboration around a piece of media, but collective collaboration and creation of a piece of media. Sure, Goncharov might not have, I don't know, a script, or a plot, or a film, but that doesn't make it any less real. Because fandom made it real. People like you and I